History of Ethiopia is always starting from the Emperor Tewodros. His name is Emperor Tewodros II, and he was the first emperor who started to unify Ethiopians, and he played a vital role for the unification of Ethiopians. So he's played one of the majority backbone. He was the backbone of Ethiopian emperor. And by the time so many priests and from different cultures, they were protesting against him because he proclaimed different rules and regulations to unify all the countries in one nation. So he had very good relationship with different countries, particularly with England. So he had very good relationship with Queen Elizabeth. So they used to they used to send a different letter with her. So this is the sword which was sent to Emperor Tewodros from Queen Elizabeth of England. But unfortunately,
so did you say Tewodros?
Tewodros.
And Queen who?
Elizabeth.
It was Victoria.
Victoria, sorry. Elizabeth and Victoria.
Okay.
I'm always Victoria.
Well, they weren't necessarily friends. Because he asked her to protect Ethiopians when they would travel to Europe. And in return, he said, when your English people travel to Africa, we can protect them too. So what happened is she didn't respond to his letter. So then what he did is he thought she didn't respect him. And he said, God made me a king just like God made you a queen, and you should respect me. And then what happens is he took some of the emissaries that England had sit down prisoner, and he took them prisoner in Magdala. And then finally she wrote his letter after he did that aggressive act. Finally she responded to his letter and she sent gifts. But then and she asked the emperor to release the prisoners. And the emperor said, no, I'm not going to release the prisoners. So then she sent General Napier down here and an exhibition. So they weren't necessarily friends though.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they, once he committed suicide, they kidnapped his Prince Alamayo, and they took him back to England. And then they took the Queen back to England too, but she didn't make it back to England.
Yeah.
So I happened to be in Westminster Abbey in St. George Cathedral, and they have a plaque for Alamayo in St. George Cathedral, and that's where he's buried, right outside Windsor Castle in St. George Cathedral. And then when they give tours of St. George Cathedral, they say your story. And they say that Alamayo was supposed to be taken care of by, Queen Victoria. And then what happened is that since they weren't necessarily friends, they didn't want Ethiopia to have another king. So the only way to have a king is through a woman who's a queen, and then that woman has a child, and then you can be king. And then if the woman already has a child, that child is a prince, and then that one could be king. So the reason they took Alamayo is because they wanted to end Ethiopia's kingship line. So they took Alamayo and they took the queen.
Yeah, but by the time Emperor Tewodros also, he was commanding those prisoners to make the gunfire.
Right. And what was the name of the cannon that he made?
Gafat.
And what's the name in the English name?
The name of
the cannon. Sebastopol.
Sebastopol.
Yeah.
Sebastopol.
And there is a replica of Sebastopol. It's in one of the squares there.
Yeah, here.
And that was made by Richard Pankhurst.
Yeah, we're gonna see it on the way back. Okay. Okay, great. So Emperor Tewodros. Then after the successor of Tewodros, his name is Emperor Johannes IV, or his name is John, like his name. Emperor Haile Selassie translatted the sayings of the Quran. He brilliantly